Good morning, students. In the last session of your chapter Electrochemistry, we have done how the molar conductivity varies for strong electrolyte and weak electrolyte. Now in this session, we will be starting with the Kolrask law. Kolrask law helps us calculate the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolytes which cannot be determined from the graph. We know that for strong electrolytes, the limiting molar conductivity can be determined from the graph. So first, let us see what is Kolrask law, and then we will do its application. That means how it can be used to determine the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolytes. The first, Kolrask law. According to Kolrask law, at infinite dilution, when the dissociation of electrolyte is complete, why we are saying is complete? Because we must know that for strong electrolyte and for weak electrolyte, strong are completely dissociated at all concentrations, but weak can be completely dissociated only at infinite dilution. So this law is applicable only at infinite dilution. Each ion makes a definite contribution towards limiting molar conductivity, delta M naught, independent of the other ion present with it. Now what do we mean by this Kolrask law? Now I consider two examples. I consider NaCl, it is a strong electrolyte, and I consider KCl, it is a strong electrolyte. Now what will be according to the definition of the Kolrask law? First I am writing the equation for the Kolrask law, then I will write it for NaCl, and then I will write it for KCl. So first I write the common equation for this, then we start with NaCl and KCl. Limiting molar conductivity is equal to mu positive, lambda naught positive plus mu negative, lambda naught negative. Now what do we mean by these terms? Delta M naught is limiting molar conductivity. Limiting molar conductivity of your electrolyte. Whatever you are taking, whatever electrolyte you are taking, that is the limiting molar conductivity. Mu positive are the number of cations formed by ionization of one molecule of electrolyte. Mu negative are number of anions formed by ionization of one molecule of electrolyte, What is lambda naught positive? That is the limiting molar conductivity of cation. Limiting molar conductivity of cation. And what is lambda naught negative? Limiting molar conductivity of anion. It is the limiting molar conductivity of anion. Now let us apply this equation and let us just see. If I take the example NaCl, NaCl will ionize into Na positive and Cl negative. So can you tell me how many ions are formed by the ionization of one molecule? One cation is formed and one anion is formed. So I say the value for mu positive is 1 and mu negative is 1. Now what will be the formula for the limiting molar conductivity of NaCl? It will be equal to mu positive 1 multiplied by limiting molar conductivity of Na positive plus 1 mu negative is 1 multiplied by limiting molar conductivity of Cl negative. So you can see limiting molar conductivity is the contribution of the limiting molar conductivity of cation and limiting molar conductivity of anion. Same way, if I see the example KCl, how it will ionize K positive and Cl negative. 1 and 1. So mu positive is 1, mu negative is 1. So lambda m naught for KCl will be equal to 1 into lambda naught of K positive. That is limiting molar conductivity of cation plus 1 into lambda naught Cl negative, limiting molar conductivity of anion. Now one important thing. The limiting molar conductivity of anion. Here also the anion is Cl negative and here also the anion is Cl negative. The value will be same. The value will be same. So that's why the limiting molar conductivity of chloride is independent of that of the cation. Whatever cation is present, it doesn't matter. Chloride will have the same limiting molar conductivity in NaCl, in KCl, in MgCl2, anywhere. So each ion is making a contribution, chloride is making a contribution which is independent of the contribution of sodium. So sodium, if I consider any value, doesn't matter. Chloride will have the same value. If here the limiting molar conductivity, suppose I say it is 5, here also it will be 5. And wherever chloride will be present, it will be 5. So it is independent of the other ion which is present. Let us take one more example. Instead of NaCl, if I take the example K2SO4, how will K2SO4 ionize? 2K positive plus SO4 2 negative. So what is mu positive? Number of cations 2 and mu negative, it is 1. So what will be lambda m naught for K2SO4? It will be equal to mu positive 2 multiplied by limiting molar conductivity of K positive, which will have the same value which it is here. Only it will be multiplied by 2 because there are 2 cations which are formed. Plus 1 into lambda naught of SO4 2 negative, because there is only one anion which is formed, SO4 2 negative. So this is how we write it, and in the numerical problems you will get the value of these, you substitute this and you can calculate the limiting molar conductivity. One more example I take up. I take up the example of aluminium sulfate. Aluminium sulfate is Al2SO4 whole thrice. So how it will ionize? It will ionize as 2Al plus 3 SO4 2 negative. So what is the value of mu positive? It is 2. What is the value of mu negative? 3. So what will be the limiting molar conductivity? 2 multiplied by lambda naught of Al plus 3 plus 3 multiplied by lambda naught of SO4 2 negative. And lambda naught SO4 2 negative will have the same value which it has got here. So it doesn't matter, it is present with aluminium, it is present with sodium, potassium, sulfate will have the same value. So this is about your Colras law. Now we will be starting with your applications of Colras law. Now in the applications of Colras law, the first application for which we have done with the Colras law, the first application is determination of the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte. So we are starting with applications of Colras law, and the first is determination of limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolytes. We know that for weak electrolytes the graph becomes the curve in the graph becomes parallel to the y-axis and we cannot determine the limiting molar conductivity from the graph. If I cannot determine it from the graph, I determine it using Polygraf's law. Let us take an example to find out how Polygraf's law is useful in determining it. Example, I have to determination of limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid. You know that acetic acid is a weak acid. Weak acid means it is a weak electrolyte. Now acetic acid will dissociate partially, not completely. CH3CO negative and H positive. What are the values? How many anions? 1. Cation is 1. So when I write the value, limiting molar conductivity according to Polygraf's law, CH3COH, it is equal to 1 multiplied by lambda naught of CH3CO negative plus 1 multiplied by lambda naught of H positive. This is according to Polygraf's law. But for weak electrolytes, I cannot determine the limiting molar conductivity from the graph. I cannot determine these values. So what we do? We take a combination of 3 strong electrolytes. Again, I am repeating, we take a combination of 3 strong electrolytes. A combination of 3 strong electrolytes is taken. Because strong electrolytes, I can determine the molar conductivity from the graph. So I take a combination of 3 strong electrolytes. Now, which 3 strong electrolytes? First, which contains acetate ion. Such a strong electrolyte which will contain acetate ion. So let us see. CH3CO negative. I know that all the salts are strong electrolytes. So I will take some salt. How to form a salt? This is an ion. I put a cation. Most commonly you can put Na. So this is a strong electrolyte. It is a salt. Salt is a strong electrolyte. What is the name? Sodium acetate. Then I take a strong electrolyte which has got H positive. I can take any of the acid, HCl. It is a strong electrolyte. Now from this, I want the acetate ion to find out the limiting molar conductivity of this. I want the H ion. What I don't want is Na and Cl. The third electrolyte I take NaC. And how I calculate now the limiting molar conductivity? Like this. Delta M naught is equal to delta M naught of what? Delta M naught of acetic acid. Delta M naught for acetic acid will be equal to delta M naught of CH3CONa. This I can determine from the graph because CH3CONa is a strong electrolyte, plus limiting molar conductivity of HCl minus limiting molar conductivity of NaCl. I am subtracting it. Why I am subtracting? Because according to the Polygraf's law, you know that this will ionize into CH3CO negative and Na positive. And Na positive, limiting molar conductivity and limiting molar conductivity of this Na positive will cancel out. This Cl negative will cancel out. And we will be left with only the limiting molar conductivity. I will get the answer for this. Again, just see. CH3CO I need it. H positive I need it. Na will be subtracted. So it will cancel out. And why we cancel out? Because I know that according to the Polygraf's law, the contribution of cation or anion is independent of the other ion which is present. So of course, under Polygraf's law, this is the formula directly to be used. But if I explain it to you according to the Polygraf's law, just see, it will be CH3COH. And what is the value I can write for it? 1 into lambda naught of CH3CO negative plus 1 into lambda naught of Na positive. Same way, plus 1 into lambda naught of H positive plus 1 into lambda naught of Cl negative. Now see what I am subtracting. Minus 1 into lambda naught of Na positive. This is for NaCl. plus 1 into lambda naught of Cl negative. So of course this will cancel. And you can see I will get the value of molar conductivity of acetic acid, that is a weak electrolyte. So always I have to take a combination of 3 strong electrolytes. 3. One first electrolyte which contains a cation, second which contains the anion, and the third which we need to subtract, the ions that we don't need. Let me take one more example. I am taking the example determination of limiting molar conductivity of NH4OH, ammonium hydroxide. It is a weak base. I have to take a combination of 3 strong electrolytes. You know NH4OH, how it will ionize. It is not a strong electrolyte, so not completely ionized, but this will ionize like this, so 1:1. So I know that lambda m naught NH4OH will be equal to 1 into lambda naught NH4 positive plus 1 into lambda naught OH negative. Now I take a combination of 3 strong electrolytes. Now all of you think about them. First, which contains NH4 positive. NH4 positive which contains. So it will be NH4Cl. I substitute any anion. This is a salt. Salts are all strong electrolytes. Second, OH negative. So I know a strong base, NaOH. Now this I need, this I need. What do I don't need? NaCl. So I will subtract NaCl. So let's write the formula here again. For NH4OH, I take it NH4OH. So first, I will add the limiting molar conductivity of NH4Cl plus NaOH, and I will subtract NaCl. So this is how we do it. Let us take one more example. Last one for this application. BaOH whole twice, barium hydroxide. It is also a weak base. Now barium hydroxide, how it ionizes? BaOH whole twice. So it will ionize into Ba plus 2 OH negative. So it is 1 and 2. So it will be 2. And here it will be Ba plus 2. Again, I have to think of a combination of 3 strong electrolytes. Right? First, which will give me barium, Ba plus 2 ion. So I can use any anion along with it. Any anion what you want. I take BaCl2. Then I need OH negative. I can take NaOH. Now what I don't need, I need 2 NaOH because there are 2 OH negative. So I will write 2 NaOH. And what I don't need 2 Na and 2 Cl. I don't need them. So subtracting off 2 NaCl. Now you can write the formula for the molar conductivity. The molar conductivity, limiting molar conductivity of barium hydroxide is equal to limiting molar conductivity of BaCl2 plus twice into limiting molar conductivity of NaOH. Why? Because I need 2 OH negative ions. So I have to multiply by 2 minus 2 limiting molar conductivity of NaCl. Why 2? Because I have to subtract 2 Na and 2 chlorines. I don't want them. So it has to be multiplied by 2. So this is about the determination of limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolytes. The first application. The second application of the Kolrask law. Determination of degree of dissociation. Determination of degree of dissociation of weak electrolytes. You know what is degree of dissociation? Alpha. Degree of dissociation is the fraction of the total molecules that dissociate. What is degree of dissociation? The fraction of the total molecules that dissociate. For example, I take 1000 molecules of acetic acid. and I say out of 1000, 10 dissociate. So what is degree of dissociation? 10 upon 1000. That is 1 by 100. Now, using these molar conductivities and the Kolra's law, how I can determine alpha, because it is the application of Kolra's law. Alpha is equal to delta M upon delta M naught. What is delta M? Delta M is molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte at any concentration. It is the molar conductivity of the weak electrolyte at any concentration C. I have prepared any solution of the weak electrolyte at any concentration. Whatever the molar conductivity at that particular concentration will be called as the molar conductivity at that concentration. And of course, you know what is delta M naught. Delta M naught is limiting molar conductivity of the same weak electrolyte. And this is determined from the Kolra's law. And their ratio will give us the dissociation, degree of dissociation alpha. So this is your second application. Third is calculating the dissociation constant of the weak electrolyte. Calculating the dissociation constant of weak electrolyte. Now you know that weak electrolyte can be a weak acid or it can be a weak base. Again I am repeating, a weak electrolyte can be a weak acid or it can be a weak base. So suppose I consider a hypothetical acid HA, which is a weak acid. So it will partially dissociate into H positive and A negative. Again I am considering weak electrolyte can be a weak acid or a weak base. Weak acid, I just consider HA as a hypothetical weak acid. It will dissociate into H positive and A negative. I consider its initial concentration as C. Till it doesn't dissociate, it is 0 and 0. At equilibrium, when it dissociates, it will be C alpha, and it is C minus C alpha. You know alpha is degree of dissociation. Degree of dissociation. So if I say that the initial concentration C is 5 mole per liter and degree of dissociation is 1 by 10. So how many H positive will be formed? 5 multiplied by 1 by 10. That you will get the concentration of H positive and A negative. And of course, when they will be formed, its concentration will decrease. C minus C alpha. Now, what is the dissociation constant of a weak acid? Ka. Ka is equal to concentration of product upon concentration of reactant. What it is? C alpha multiplied by C alpha upon C 1 minus alpha. C and C cancel. So Ka is equal to C alpha square upon 1 minus alpha. And alpha you can substitute from the previous one. Delta M upon delta M naught. I can also write it C. C means at a particular concentration, whatever you are taking. Square 1 minus. So this is how we find out the dissociation constant of a weak acid. And if it is a weak base, the formula remains unchanged. It is same. Either you find out for a weak acid or you find out for a weak base. This whole derivation is a part of your equilibrium chapter that you have done in 11. So you have done C is the concentration, C alpha and C minus C alpha. With this, we have done with the applications of the Kolra's law. Thank you.